Me? Hi, my name is Joseph West, and today we're going to be talking about St. Joseph.
And I'm Andrew Collins, and I'm going to tell you about how St. Joseph was a big light in my life.
Hi, I'm Drew, and St. Joseph is one of my favorites.
I heard he had a great mustache.
He did have a great... None of us could pick our parents, right? Like, none of us got a chance to decide who our parents were. It was just kind of like, hey, I woke up one day and I was a baby, and this is my mom and this is my dad. That's, you know. But with God in the incarnation, like, he specifically got to pick his mom and dad. That God could pick anyone in human history, and out of every man who ever lived, the person who was the best man, the one who could actually teach God what it was like to be a man, is St. Joseph.
Talk about love. Joseph is what manly, like masculine love is.
Yeah.
He knew going into marriage, actually, that he was never going to sleep with Mary.
Yeah.
He knew, like, when he stepped in that on that first day, and I was just like so inspired. Like, that's the way I'm preparing for marriage. I want to be able to love a woman like that.
She's a nice girl. She's not going to surprise him on their wedding night of like, surprise! By the way, I made a vow of perpetual virginity.
That's the standard.
For the sake of someone, yeah, like, that's the standard. Only man in history who loved like Joseph did.
A lot of church artwork, Joseph is depicted as this old man, you know, holding an infant Jesus. You know, he's bent over, he's got long gray hair, and he looks very old. And that's how people have often depicted Joseph. But Fulton Sheen talks about how, no, Joseph was probably a young guy.
Most Jewish men were married when they were like around 16 to 24. Kind of like right in that window.
He wasn't celibate, you know, because he was old and incapable, but because he chose to be. Because he knew that that was what he was called to do. He was willing to renounce what the world said masculinity was. He was willing to give all that up just for the privilege to be celibate and to be the head of the Holy Family. He was willing to, as a young man, you know, devote himself completely to Mary and to Jesus. And that honestly is the standard for masculinity, the standard for fatherhood and marriage.
How devastated he has to have been when early on in the Gospels, when he finds out Mary's pregnant, and he doesn't know immediately that Mary's conceived miraculously. He doesn't know it's God's child. He could, by Jewish law, have her killed. Mm-hmm. And he still, through this act of love and respect for her, wants to, it says, divorce her quietly so that no one knows. And he even, in that sense, in some way, is still going to claim to be the child's father, maybe. Who knows? Like, he's literally willing to like, risk his reputation and lay down his life for a woman who, at the time, he has every reason to believe had cheated on him, and in a horrible way.
The gospel writers also had like a very good image of the humility of Joseph. There's very few characters in the Gospels who don't say anything.
Right, and Joseph,
but Joseph is one of them. He's one of the only ones, and there's no words, there's nothing that he says, but we know and we can trust that he was like obedient, and he was willing to be utterly humiliated and like not even speak out against it.
And see, like, what is, you know, a father's, one of his primary responsibilities, if not the most important responsibility he has to his kids, is the handing on of the faith.
Yeah.
Literally, God trusted this guy Joseph so much to teach him about God.
Joseph isn't a man of the law. Like, I mean, he's not like a Pharisee or
right.
He was just a guy.
Yeah.
He's a practicing Jew.
He also wasn't. He was royal. He was descended from the line of David.
Yeah, right.
So he knew, you know, that he was descended from David, who was the greatest king of Israel. 30 years that he lived before you know, preaching and beginning his public ministry. And you just think about, like, what was Joseph doing during that time? Like, the conversations that he and Jesus were having. Because like you said, you know, Joseph was the one who taught Jesus how to be a man. And in Jewish society, the father taught his son how to pray. The father taught his son his trade, you know, and Joseph was, we're told he's a carpenter. But really the word is more accurately translated as handyman. You know, someone who's able to work with, you know, their hands, work with any type of material. So Joseph would just do odd jobs wherever he could. You know? Like, he was the one teaching Jesus that.
Hands-on to Jesus is this mastery over wood, right? Of sanding and cutting and carving and doing these things. And then we see later at the end of his life, Jesus mastering death on a wooden cross. A beautiful symbolic way. His whole life, St. Joseph was preparing Jesus for his death, teaching him to master, in a sense, the very instrument that would later be used to kill him.
At the end of time, when Jesus comes again, the thing that will be most regretted by people is that like Saint Joseph's intercession wasn't asked for enough, because it's like so powerful. It's like the second most powerful thing to Mary in heaven. In the life of the church, like we need to pray for his intercession all the more, because like next to Mary, he is the closest.
There's a reason they call him the terror of demons.
The terror of demons.
Saint Joseph, pray for us.
Saint Joseph, pray for us.
Saint Joseph, pray for us.